for those of you who might not be aware, Dan is also a wearer of a few hats, but all very design focused and sort of all are promoting, great design in different ways to different audiences. I think is that
that's right.
A common thread, isn't it?
And my collective Office for Good Design was responsible for a significant part of the program at M Pavilion, which I think explores a nice model for a pavilion where it's activated and programmed. And I think this is a place where this pavilion differs a little bit from others. It's quite a unique point of difference. There's events on once, twice, 3 times a day. For 4 months.
Incredible.
It's been big in that regard.
A huge program. Must have it's obviously kept you guys extremely busy and.
Yes, it did. And the program we conceived was around this idea of meets, and so looking at both traditional and unorthodox ways of bringing people together to share in a common purpose. So we explored things like traditional Japanese tea ceremonies. We had yoga sessions, meditation classes, and the whole idea was to bring people together in ways that were informal and relaxed, but to help make new connections and collaborations possible. So they played out Wednesday, Saturday and Sunday throughout the entire summer. It was a joy.
Fantastic, absolutely. And Dan, tell us a little bit, how did you guys actually, what's your sort of your process to putting together, bringing there's such a great kind of intersection of designers from different backgrounds, and then activities that fashion designers leading yoga sessions, and
we have been developing programs together, Emma, Kate and myself, for probably 6 or 7 years. So we've become quite tight at doing this, and have developed, an interesting model where we set a framework, a curatorial thread, but then hand that over to designers throughout the process. And so each of the programs, we take a back seat and let a designer lead whatever they're going to lead, a workshop, a talk, a performance. So it's a real collaborative approach, I think, to making programs, involving, we involved 30 to 40 different design practices or creatives through this program, which is a good thing, I think the Pavilion has a incredible possibility or role to bring together all these disparate and small bubbles of creativity, and I think that's what's happening here, which is good. And I think Melbourne, our natural mode isn't really one of connectedness. We find it a little awkward. We kind of stick to ourselves, like you were saying, we have a background of backyards and fences and that sort of thing, so we're not a society naturally that is good at connecting with one another. We need a little help, and I think Naomi knows that, and so it wasn't just about the structure or the architecture, but also a huge focus about what's going to happen inside and
how to bring people together.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. So in terms of just sort of always very interested to find out more about people's process, and in terms of throwing that out to designers to how do you guys sort of maybe describe that framework for us a little bit?
Open but provide a framework. I think anyone that works in design knows that that
Design
thing
by
of
committee is always
yeah, or you can
always-
do whatever you like.
Yeah.
It's sort of the
too much freedom.
the hardest brief, and
hard,
so
yeah.
it's all about creating a framework and parameters, suggestions and guidance, and then letting things develop and unfold within that. And so some of the events that we've run have been a real surprise to me. We had a gorgeous collaboration meet between a dancer, Shelley Lassiter, and an artist, Nathan Gray. And we had no idea what they were going to do. And it was a gorgeous way to use the pavilion, almost flipping it. They did their performance around the outside and the audience sat in, and so it was reversed in a way. So it's a mix of giving guidance but being open, I think, is the main way we approach.
Getting that balance right. That's
Yeah.
obviously an art form, but you guys have.
Yeah, and it's quite narrow, our work, but it's amazing that in Melbourne these projects keep coming up, and I think it demonstrates how committed we are to engaging with one another, getting in conversations with one another. That real social
Promoting design, I
exchange.
guess, as
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
isn't it? Really, I mean, we maybe we're a little bit biased, but seems I think Melbourne has a fantastic, culture of celebrating design.
I think so.
Across, lots of different sort of design disciplines.
Yep, it's something we're really getting right and committed to. I spent last year working in New York, and you would think, oh, New York, they know what they're doing, but in fact it seemed that we had our systems in place, and we're really working it in a really dynamic and fresh way, which is good.
Absolutely. We were at the supercritical mass. We were just chatting about that the other day. So, fortunately, weren't here to experience on hand, but I have actually heard those guys create before. But that sounded really interesting.
Yes. So Supercritical Mass are this really interesting spatial architectural sound group, and they create sound within architectural environments. They're based out of Brisbane and Sydney, and we brought them down for a bell ringing session where we used the Federation bells. It was impromptu, anybody could join in, but it was it was a fantastic session. The first thing that we did was listen and try to harmonise with one another. And so it was a great practice for me, because I really listened to the sounds around the city, and I guess took a new appreciation for the site of M Pavilion. It's wedged in between this road, there's trams, there's cars, but it's an incredibly relaxing space. You can hear the city noise, but you're also removed from it, and so it feels like quite a special place to be. So that project was really good for listening to the sounds.
Such a different way to experience the
Yeah.
city, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
very rare to stop and listen.
Yeah, and it's to think about this as such a sort of quiet place within all of this.
Absolutely. And I guess that's a sort of another example of really sort of thinking about how to use the space and encourage a different
That's
way
right.
of thinking about
Yeah, that's right. It
public
was
space, isn't it?
it's been a really fun part of the process. That particular project, we were staring at each other's eyes, looking intently, trying to find a way to harmonise our bell ringing. So we weren't necessarily talking with one another, but we were making quite
Talking
intimate
through bells.
connections.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing.
Yeah.
And another, which I think it was just this week or last week, the Broad Plays.
Yes.
Those guys. Tell us a little bit sort of about how they, how they use the space and how people interacted.
Yep. So that was, we ran some meditation classes with a group out of Sydney. And so we meditated in the pavilion. And again, it was a really gorgeous way to experience the site. I think the walls that open seem like, of course, that's the way that they should be, but of course, a different design may not have that. So we were able to meditate, feel the wind on our skin. So again, a really quiet and lovely way to experience this space.
Interesting. Dan, tell us a little bit. I guess that's a great example, but ways that sort of different events, experiences, program that you guys have curated down here have sort of used the space perhaps in different ways, and you touched on sort of turning the stage inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Any others that sort of spring to mind?
It's been we've been here a lot and have been using the space in all different sorts of ways, and so I feel like it's really given me a good feeling for the intricacies of the design. For example, we had a yoga session here led by a designer and a yoga instructor, and I really appreciated the clear roof. I hadn't really noticed it before. I knew that we were sheltered, I knew that there was a boundary, but laying on the floor and looking up and realising I could see the trees and the sun, even though I was sheltered, was a pretty powerful and wonderful thing. I'm trying to think of other things. We've run some walks and bike rides, which have been interesting again, in that the M Pavilion architecture has really been the starting point. And then we've headed out into the gardens and the city and the surrounds. And so this has really been a way of us to get to know the bigger area that it's sited within.
Casting our memories all the way back to the first weeks with the drawing session. Yeah, yes. with James Gulliver Hancock.
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty fun, and I guess you a little unexpected.
Bye, Pino.
It is,
out of here.
It's your time to disappear. Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Thanks.